You know, some phrases are just so foundational. They feel like they've existed forever, right? Like they were carved in stone from the very beginning. But they weren't. A person wrote them, a single, brilliant, and kind of forgotten figure. And today, we're going to meet the man who gave the U.S. Constitution its powerful voice. Just listen to this for a second. We, the people of the United States. These are, without a doubt, some of the most famous words in American history, the very bedrock of the nation. And what was so radical about them was that they declared that power didn't come from a bunch of states, it came directly from the people themselves.
Okay, so you know the words by heart. But here's the pop quiz for you. Could you actually name the person who penned that iconic phrase? The one who was handed all the messy, debated, argued over drafts and told to turn it into the powerful, polished document we know today?
Well, his name was Gouverneur Morris. He was a delegate from Pennsylvania, though he was a New Yorker at heart, and he was the chief draftsman for the Constitution's final version. That eloquent preamble that has inspired people for generations? Yeah, that was all him.
And don't you dare picture some quiet writer just sitting in a corner. Morris was an absolute force in the debates. He stood up and spoke a staggering 173 times. Let that sink in. 173. That is more than any other delegate there, including James Madison, the guy we call the father of the Constitution. Morris was simply impossible to ignore.
So what was driving this guy? Well, he had a vision for America that was just bigger than pretty much anyone else's in that room. While most delegates were thinking about their home states, Morris was thinking about forging an entire nation.
And you can hear it in his own words. He stood up and told the convention, "I came here as a representative of America," which was already a pretty bold statement. But then he went even bigger, saying he was there for the whole human race. I mean, the ambition. He really believed they were building a model of government for the whole world to look at.
Morris totally understood just how fragile this new nation was. He saw the whole process not like building a house, but like being in a chemistry lab, mixing a really unstable, always potentially explosive solution. One wrong ingredient, one wrong move, and the whole experiment could just blow up in their faces. It required incredible care and a national focus to hold it all together.
And nowhere was that mixture more explosive than on the issue of slavery. And on this topic, Morris would deliver some of the most fiery, uncompromising speeches of the entire convention, calling slavery nothing less than a curse of heaven.
He did not mince words. James Madison actually wrote it down. Morris declared that he would never agree to a constitution that protected slavery. He didn't see it as just some political problem. For him, it was a moral abomination. He called it a nefarious institution.
But Morris didn't just appeal to morality. He came at it from an economic angle, too. He challenged the other delegates to just open their eyes. He contrasted the rich and noble cultivation and prosperity you could see in the free states with the misery and poverty that covered the barren wastes of the slave states.
And then he delivered this absolute thunderbolt. For Morris, slavery wasn't just bad policy. It was a divine punishment, a curse of heaven that was literally ruining the land where it was practiced. You can just feel the sheer force of his anger in those words. Then he turned his sharp legal mind on the hypocrisy of the 3/5 clause. That's the one that proposed counting enslaved people to give states more political power. And he posed this one simple but totally devastating question that's just cut right to the heart of the whole debate. He laid out this inescapable trap. He basically said, okay, which is it? Are they men? Great, then make them citizens and let them vote. Or are they property? Fine, in that case, why aren't we counting horses and other property for representation? It was this brilliant piece of logic that just completely exposed the contradiction that the pro-slavery argument was built on. So you're probably picturing this incredibly serious, maybe a little stuffy, statesman, right? Well, you'd be wrong, because the man delivering these profound moral arguments was also one of the most colorful, scandalous, and larger-than-life figures of his generation. So let's meet the other Mr. Morris.
Nothing captures the two sides of Gouverneur Morris better than the story of his wooden leg. The official story, the one for public consumption, was a respectable carriage accident. But the rumor that followed him everywhere, and that a lot of historians think is probably true, is that he shattered his leg jumping from a lover's window to escape her very angry husband. Statesman by day, total rogue by night.
See, Morris was known all over America and Europe as a bit of a rake, a real ladies' man. He was charming, witty, always at the best parties. His personal diaries are filled with his romantic escapades, but his secret to success was surprisingly modern. He actually liked and listened to women and treated them as his intellectual equals.
And that sharp wit never left him. Late in life, when he was 57, he absolutely shocked his high society relatives by marrying his housekeeper. When they all complained and expressed their outrage, he shot back with this perfect line, basically telling them it was none of their business. He was going to live life on his own terms. Thank you very much.
So, how do we reconcile these two people, the patriot and the playboy, the moralist and the rake? Well, Morris's legacy is every bit as complex and fascinating as the man himself. First off, those fiery speeches at the convention, they weren't just a one-time performance. This was a real commitment. After the convention, he became an associate of the New York Manumission Society, which was working to end slavery. He was putting action behind his very powerful words.
And his nation building didn't stop with the Constitution either. He was a huge champion of the Erie Canal, seeing it as a massive national work that would physically bind the new country together. He wasn't just designing a political union. He wanted to help build the economic and physical one too.
So who was Gouverneur Morris? A patriot who spoke for all humanity? A playboy with a wooden leg and a scandalous diary? Or, as some of his rivals accused him, a dishonest scrivener who snuck his own ideas into the Constitution? The truth is, he was all of them. And that incredible complexity is what makes the forgotten man who wrote We the People so utterly unforgettable.